14s in chat, which means start the game already. Thank you again, everyone, for the donations. Again, 50% goes directly towards the prize pool, which has been climbing. And the amount of subs coming in has been insane as well. And ladies and gents, we start off our final quarterfinal. And Alexios Komnenos shows up in the yellow color. Now, actually, in this case, Mapu, I think we're going to keep Alexios in yellow. Let's roll with it. For the rest of the series, we're going to do Alexios in yellow and Jan Žižka in blue. I'm happy with this. But I remember Alexios changing his color from game to game. So he's stuck in yellow now.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people might initially think that picking yellow is a pro player, feeding into the ideas of the tournament, looking to have some fun with it and confuse the audience. But we have to consider a second strategic element, which is that you can immediately play the mind game against your opponent. Now, if I'm not the Viper, I'm picking yellow for game one in every single series I play, because I want, as we load in, my opponent to think, oh my goodness, did I draw the Viper? Am I playing against Viper?
Yes. Thank you. That's where I'm at. Like, and I'm surprised we haven't seen it more. And, these players don't have a lot of intel. They didn't get to see the earlier rounds before playing the quarterfinal. What they will know now, right off the bat here, Alexios knows that the Chinese can be insanely strong if they have all their resources. So Alexios came forward to try and steal something. Thus far, wasn't able to steal any boars. Is going to find some sheep, though. A really smart move here from Alexios to try and take something away from the Chinese. Because if the Chinese have a fluid start in Age of Empires, they're just simply one of the best civs.
Yeah, 200 food snatched away, but it even looks like Jan Žižka, trying to search for those final two sheep, won't be able to find them. Even if they never make it back home, just removing that food from the Chinese player going to help, like you say, to disrupt the eco, disrupt kind of the smoothness that the Chinese player can find in terms of how they develop through the game with such amazing tech tree options, relatively solid eco. I mean, just such a well-rounded civ. Now, on the other side of things, let's talk about Khmer and the value there. I mean, immediately, I'm thinking about scout play, and that comes back to heart. That comes back to also the ability, with not having to drop a barracks per se, to either go for a very quick uptime, right? And we could see some serious aggression here early by the Khmer player to try and punish Jan Žižka. Okay,
so on the yellow color real quick, there's one big player that you think of when you think yellow color. That is the Viper. 3-time winner of Hidden Cup. Also a player that people voted Jan Žižka as. So it's a bit tricky, right? A lot of people are going to vote Viper because he's so good. But he hasn't consistently picked yellow in Hidden Cups. The only time Viper picked yellow in Hidden Cup was after going the whole of Hidden Cup 2 without picking yellow. And then he showed up on the semifinals and the final day in his yellow colors. So it's not common for him. But there is a player who in the qualifier or in all of his tournaments as well, picked yellow 80% of the time. And it's the youngest player in the event. It's Mihai. And Mihai has this Khmer build that he would use in the past, which was insanely aggressive. He was really good with Khmer. So just putting that out there. I think a lot of people have assumed that a player like Mihai, who's new, who's made his first Hidden Cup, is not going to be in the quarterfinals. But with everyone being so talented, you cannot discount that possibility.
100%. 100%. I mean, I would almost say it's more a guarantee that one of those, rising star players is in the quarterfinals, right? Where, again, our expectation would be that they would all lose in the first round. I would say we're definitely seeing one of those names here in the reveal, at least in this top 8 quarterfinal round.
Okay, so the tricky thing against Chinese is if they survive the early feudal window, it can be really problematic. Now, I'm looking at this right now. Almost looks to be an archer opening here for Alexios and not a scout opening. But yeah, it's like right now there's going to be a 2-villager lead for Jan Žižka, and he's got cheaper techs, and there's more food on the farms, and you have a better tech tree. So Alexios has to think about ways to find damage. I don't hate the archer opening, but it's not going to be nearly as aggressive as the scout opening can be.
Yeah, coming forward for information now is Jan Žižka, so not aware of what his opponent is going for just yet. If he can loop around here to the gold, that will give him the awareness he needs that perhaps some archers are coming forward. But the early Feudal Age comes in here for Alexios, and he's going to chase down the scout. This is a fabulous find here. I think for Jan, he's got to get as much info as he can before the scout goes down.
Yeah, really good find. Also very telling how Jan Žižka dealt with that. So he knew his scout would be receiving hits, and that his opponent would hit him multiple times. But he hit and he ran even though he was at a disadvantage. That is not something that even amongst the top 16 everyone does. So essentially his scout's weak, which it was going to be anyways, but he did take the opponent's scout down to low HP, and Alexios does not run into that TC. Well played.
Okay, so here's what's important though, right? Is Jan Žižka didn't get any scouting information on that gold or even the archery range, I believe. And so still left to wonder, is it scouts coming forward? Is it archers coming forward? What is it that's going to come? Oh, he did get a peek at the archery range just on his retreat. That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, so sees the range. So it's good that he's not adding any spears. Now, it's awkward for the Khmer here to be going archers if they can't mix in spears combined with their archers, because you skip the barracks, right? So it's important that Alexios really goes purely on archer mass, and he needs to protect his gold right now. Look how fast Jan Žižka has moved forward, even with the weak scout, but Alexios happy to fight that off. And again, I'm seeing confidence from both. Jan Žižka's scout fighting away the stronger scout in that one period, and then right there, Alexios not worried, just batting that away with his villagers. We've got some high-level players here.
I mean, 16 villager uptime into archers is just a ludicrously tight build order. That's so impressive.
Yeah, it's definitely something prepped. Definitely something that Alexios felt is good against the Chinese as well. Remember, Khmer can hop inside houses with their villagers, and a great job to do so from Alexios. And Jan Žižka loses a scout, and that wasn't even the one that was already weak. So maybe an opportunity for Alexios to move forward now. But Fletching's on the way for him, and at home, he's scouting. And God, I get so excited about good scouting. The fact that he knows his opponent has skirms now is such a big deal.
Yeah, we've got scouts in box formation. Another thing to take note of, only a couple players in the tournament wouldn't be doing that at this day and age here. In Age of Empires, another great usage, though, of the villagers to fight those scouts away, now finding 2 picks overall at home.
Wow.
And keeping those villagers safe.
That was sick there. Again, Alexios saves the Weakville into the house and then moves it elsewhere. Now, he's going to be adding scouts with his archers. The idea here is because he knows his opponent has skirms. The Vill count right now is great for Jan Žižka. The real problem area is going to be that gold. Look at this micro from Alexios. Like, he is on top of it right now. 2 kills, 0 deaths, 7 seconds of TC idle time. Pretty good eco upgrades here, too. And to circle it back to what we said, very rare that we see Arabia available for game 1. And I'm seeing how comfortable both players are and why we have this for game 1 with these two.
Yeah, scouts dive in again here. Archers are ejected from the archery range. The rest of the archers come back to the base just in time. And he'll be able to force these scouts away. Still very little damage taken here on the side of Alexios. So fantastic defensive play out of him. I think my only concern, not my only concern, one of my concerns long-term, T90, is ultimately how he's going to wall and configure his base. Because he's opted for, obviously, those conservative and safe walls around each of his important resources. But at some point, he's going to need to expand.
Yeah, it's really tough to get that. Like, some players are just going to stay open with the Khmer, but it feels like at this level, people are going to punish you. Alexios is micro. His unit control is looking so good. Still hasn't lost a villager to those scouts. Unfortunately, I'd say it's like kind of a positive, kind of a negative. You want to be killing vills here, Dash. You don't really just want to be denying a resource, but I guess you do also take what you can get in these instances, and denying that gold does mean that Jan Žižka can't go Castle Age as fast as you, so it's definitely some type of positive.
Ooh, how about this? Archers looping around the back right now. There's an overchop. Oh, but it's spotted by Jan Žižka in that moment. Great job on the palisade wall. Archers won't be able to get in. Villagers are relocated. Both players, I feel like, are playing at the top of their game right now.
That right there could have been game over. Like, with how aggressive this is, with how much army we're seeing. We've got 5 scouts. We've got 11 archers right now for Alexios. The skirm number also, it's rather low for Jan Žižka, but he's showing confidence that he can get by with lesser numbers, which people will associate with certain players. But, like, I still feel like advancing forward here is a little risky if you're Jan Žižka. He has added in some spearmen. They could be picked off by the archers like that. And the micro from Alexios Dash. I mean, these are clearly two of the best Arabia players in the world right now. As the confidence continues, really hard to call this, though. It really could go either way. The spearmen need to be sniped by the archers. It looks like they have been. There's no more spears in the mix, and it's a better fight for Alexios.
Yeah, let the dance battle begin, but forging comes in just at the right moment there for those scouts to do big work in the battle there on the hill. And so Alexios will continue to control the front of Jan Žižka's base, keep him off of that all-important main gold. And so while the rest of the ecos look pretty well balanced for both players, right? 16 on food for Jan, 20 on food for Alexios. It's that inability to get to the gold, I think, which is going to hurt the Chinese player overall in trying to match the Castle Age timing of the Khmer player.
Just look at, like, the value of the fights, right? The engagements have been sick. We don't really reference it that much because it's on the second page, but the resources destroyed is probably really nice for Alexios right now. And we'll have that reflected on the bottom left side. He's destroyed 1,000 resources simply because of taking better engagements. And if you then don't need to invest into more army, you can go Castle Age faster. And my eyes would be like, I would be staring directly at that gold right now and thinking, with that type of a fight, I go to Castle Age and I just win the game by denying that gold from Jan Žižka.
Yeah, Skirmisher is chasing a little far here. Still a few scouts that can make quick work of them. And the spear got targeted down. Another spear arrives, though, just in time to help push these yellow forces away. But the micro is just so on point right now for Alexios. And behind that, he's only one vil behind while he does sacrifice Wheelbarrow in order to have that just one vil deficit at the time being, but boom, Castle Age is quick. Khmer player is on the way.
I'm really impressed as well with Jan Žižka, how he is not letting these archers escape. He knows there's not enough scout support to protect this forever. At least he feels that way. I mean, Alexios continues to get insane value. Alexios is playing out of his mind, but still, the skirms are here. They should, in theory, have opportunities to eventually kill these archers with the upgrades they have. Dude, Alexios is nerding out like a madman right now.
Yeah, I wish there was a way to see the number of kills that dead units have, right? Like, I want to know how many skirmishers those scouts were able to snipe over the course of the game. Look at this.
Seriously.
There's no skirmishers remaining. It's spears now against archers.
And he had 3 scouts, and, like, 2 of them were basically dead. But he was still able to avoid every spear hit. He's going to be up in 30 seconds. And if you get knights onto that gold, as we see a beautiful quick wall from Jan Žižka, knights onto this gold can end the game against Chinese. Chinese do need to have some sort of gold income. Beautiful damage control from Jan Žižka. Doesn't lose a villager. Still out here doing his best to kill the archers. Will lose a lot of spears. But, you know, just continue to reiterate what we've been saying. These guys are elite level Age of Empires players.
5 archers have 13 kills right now. Okay, one of those archers go down, which drops the kill count down to 9 or 10, but still the micro is there. He cleans it up. He's going to be able to pressure the left-hand side while also putting pressure on the front of Jan Žižka's base. He forced the tower down as well, which means no TCs upon reaching the Castle Age for the Chinese player. I mean, at this point, Alexios feels like he has total control, and it's up to him how he wants to close this out if nothing changes.
Yeah, you can tell why Alexios is very happy to play Arabia. Jan Žižka was up against an aggressive player in Alpha the Opaca round 1, and he was on the more defensive side of things come Castle Age, but he has never faced this level of pressure before. The crossbows are camping farms on either side. The knights are just going to run
Knights
through.
Are in?
It's also the patience, Dash, to know, I'm going to find damage with the knights, and the crossbows need to wait for the moment. And now this is the moment the crossbows come in, and this might be game over here. Like right now, Jan Žižka, he can't take any resources, and he's gonna call the GG before he is even in Castle Age. Alexios Komnenos destroys on Arabia game 1 against one of the best Arabia civilizations out there in the Chinese.
Yeah, that's a first pick Chinese pick, which is a very reasonable first pick, right?
Yeah.
I think, again, we were talking about how strange it was that Alexios himself didn't pick up Chinese in the first pick as well. And but he shows us why. He's got the confidence that he can out-micro in the Civ matchup. He used that Khmer uptime brilliantly to get the archer numbers up and defended very, very well with just villagers and houses, right? Playing relatively open, not using the villager time or the resources to fully wall, and just index into the aggression. Full stop.
And it's going to be cross. Now, we're going to change Alexios back to yellow. But listen, people, I made the video on colors before any of these games were played. And in that video, I did say that Leary is known for changing his color from game to game. In the first quarter, the first round of 16 matchup, Alexios did that. And now we have a change to green, which is Leary's most picked color. Does make you think who this player might be, but it's Hindustanis for Alexios, and Jan Žižka's just sticking with the blue here.
I'm certain.
Japanese for Jan Žižka.
I am certain that this is Leary. 1,000%. What? Because you don't look. As you mentioned, you're changing colors like this. That is such a Leary thing to do. But to go from yellow straight to green, following that micro, also Hindustanis. It's another like crossbow camel civ, right? We've talked so much about how while the meta has moved a little bit away, from crossbows and camels, he's one of the players who's still trying to make it work in a lot of cases. And so I don't know if I need any more information to lock my vote in here. This is Leary.
Well, in Dash's mind, Leary confirmed. If you agree, maybe use the confirmed emote. We don't have a humble emote yet, but a lot of people are saying, hey, stay humble. Let's not say it's confirmed just yet. Could be someone trying to pretend as though they're Leary, which would certainly terrify people just as much as someone pretending they are Viper. When Jan Žižka played this map, we had a back dock with Malay into crazy walls and then fish boom with fish traps. Now, Japanese are really good at that too. But I don't think there's as much reward. I don't think there's as much... I think it is more awkward to play towards the walls with the Japanese, Dash, when you have so many bonuses offensively. So I'll be curious to see the style here. I mean, Hindustanis, this might be the first time they've ever been picked here. It definitely feels like... It just feels more awkward. Let's just put it that way, compared to the Japanese.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to call a Civ win here, just by this sense of which Civ is more likely and more suited towards this map, you're going to think naturally Japanese. Already going for that early dock. The fishing ships are going to bring in fish that much quicker. You're going to look for maybe a nice little fish boom. Great scouting here by Jan Žižka already to establish where he can build up those walls and at least guarantee himself one very safe pond with which to boom up in. But I think then the question becomes whether or not Jan, after seeing the aggression out of Alexios in game number 1, even opts to look for a second pond, because you could overextend yourself, right, and get punished as a result.
Yeah, I want to see the confidence from Jan Žižka here, because Chinese is probably the reason why he was so passive in comparison to his opponent in the previous game. But, like, Japanese now are the civilization. They have the flexibility with all the wood savings to add the fish and also go for man-at-arms or fast archers or even in a rare occasion scouts. So if Jan Žižka chooses to think, I have additional flexibility, I'm still going to play defensive, then we have a style difference. But if we see Jan Žižka come aggressively here, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Because, as I said, the Japanese have the ability to do that. And Jan Žižka showed us in his first series that he could be just as aggressive as Alexios was in game number 1 here.
All right, well, checking back in with the scouts. Alexios is the first one to bring his forward and look for his opponent. While I say that, we have the other scout moving out at the same moment. So both players going to get a look at each other's bases, try and decipher what strategies we're going for. Small eco advantage here for the Japanese player, getting those wood savings on buildings like the lumber camp. They can easily funnel right into fishing ships to give them a little bit of a food boost, and Loom on the way, while Feudal Age has already been clicked here for Alexios.
Feels unlikely we're going to see an early barracks for Jan Žižka at this point, because he would have built it already. Now they're looking for each other. I noticed that the gold situation on this gen is really poor for both players. And Jan Žižka sees the lumber camp, is going to move on. But yeah, I mean, the golds, you just look at the mini map there. The main golds for both are below a hill, and I consider that to be problematic. There's also not like a second or third gold that's really convenient for either. So I think Alexios might be in a better position there, but still, I mean, you got to protect those golds, which means land military is going to be key.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And so Alexios is actually going to opt for one of his secondary golds. Hasn't even scouted the third just yet. And while we have a moment here to breathe, Feudal Age just being reached for both players, I'll remind everyone, T90, that Alexios had won game one on this map here against Bobby G, but in some of the most awkward fashion. Remember, it was that forward siege workshop and stealing 3-4 sheep, even 5. Oh my goodness.
God. A heavy lame Alexios underneath the TC. And wait a second. I thought there was only one player who could do that, and people already thought we had him in Hidden Cup. Alexios stealing the sheep. I mean, that's huge, right? That's a new thing people have been doing because people got tired of complaining that TCs don't hit anything and decided to do something about it. And what is that? 400, 500 food? That move is definitely something that Hera started, but is something everyone should know about right now. What a great job from Alexios to take advantage
TCs
of that.
don't hit scouts, but they sure as heck hit sheeps. I tell you that much.
Yeah, very accurate against sheep. Now let's see how Alexios damage controls, because he was using his scout to kill sheep, and so he didn't see. Oh, and we got a quick wall from Alexios to save the villager. What a crazy sequence here.
Wow.
I'm seeing the chat right now, and I'm seeing like a lot of people right now really looking at their bracket all confused because people seem to think they've got it figured it out. But this is some crazy damage control and aggressiveness from Alexios.
Yeah, and once again for Jan, right? You're thinking, okay, I scouted out where he's gone for gold, recognizing that both players have poor gold positions, thinking he's going to get some early damage in, and it gets denied due to some beautiful quick walling. But while all of that's happening, I'll point out triple pond domination here for the Japanese player. Already extended out to the south, dropping a dock in the north now as we speak. And so good on him to use those militia, keep the attention back at home here for Alexios, and slowly build up that eco advantage and maybe even get some safer walling back at home. Just now trying to extend those walls in front of the main gold.
Yeah, I mean, Alexios, fancy quick walls, great job on the whole sheep there, my friend. But you kind of forgot this is a pond map, right? And you're right, the TPD for Jan Žižka. I feel like every time we cast together at this point, there's always a TPD. I don't know if you just bring the cross games with you or what, Dash. But
I define the meta on cross.
All right, Dash is the go-to on the cross meta.
Oh lordy. Okay. So here's the thing, right? It's like, are you even thinking about this right now as Alexios, those other pawns? Because trying to panic up some walls here at the back of the base, not even full walling your own pond, it seems like already a tough spot and great aggression here out of Jan Žižka.
Yep. And Jan Žižka, after having the triple pawn domination, is going to move forward now. There's a whole lot of sitting. There's a whole lot of waiting. There's a whole lot of walling for Alexios. Jan Žižka docking the west, docking the north, docking the south now. Also has a ship on both of those external pawns to make sure his opponent can't contest it. This is what you want on cross. Whereas Alexios, we clearly saw how good he was on Arabia. He is more of the thinking, I can deal, as long as I don't take damage, I'm going to deal with my opponent in the Castle Age, which I get because of how good he is. But it is a risk to not expand your fishing eco, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was a point I was making earlier when we saw those sheeps get lamed, right? It is just how the first game in the last series for Alexios played out. Actually taking a lot of damage to raids, right? Had that hole in his wall here on cross, but got the sneak siege workshop forward into 5 mangonels, utter destruction.
Yeah, true.
Of Robert. So, again, like you say, Castle Age, I think, is where we're going to see Alexios most often try and get it done. And as we speak, Castle Age is on the way.
Yeah, so what happened in that? So I think for us, it's going to be easier to draw parallels to that series for viewers. Maybe some of these games are running together, but yeah, the same situation happened for Alexios where he didn't have the fishing eco, like you said. And then it was an all-in that brought him back into the game. He certainly has that opportunity here. He's got a nice massive archers. He's got a nice massive skirms. I will say, though, Jan Žižka, he won on cross himself in his first series. And he also seems to be a little bit more capable at defense when needed in the really intense situations, just based on what I've seen from him. So if he can defend here, he has so many fishing ships bringing in food. He's Japanese, so the fish traps could be a good option for him too. And his micro right now is good enough to push Alexios away.
Yeah, micro's good. And down in the south, we have, I think, a villager coming forward looking to dock there for Alexios, but it was spotted and even pushed away. So great recognition by Jan Žižka to get those fire galleys out early, and even here in the north is going to get the spot on the Vil.
Yeah, should be able to. Yeah, he notices it. That's sick from Jan Žižka. To have both of those pawns secured, to also have your skirms there on the front getting some of the kills. It's so easy when you have the fish boom lead to just kind of sit behind your walls and not do some of these other things and feel like, oh, I'm okay. But really being attentive here. And elite skirm's the first thing Alexios is going to do here. Not really the type of unit you want to pressure and kill your opponent quickly on land.
Yeah, but now I'm waiting. There it is, the villager. I was about to say, I'm waiting for a villager to come walking onto our screen here, because when you see those 3 pawns have already been taken and you have the inability to get on and contest those, you got to come forward and be aggressive on land.
Agreed. Yeah, and we mentioned it before. It was siege in the past. It would make sense for Alexios to feel very comfortable to go siege here. Now, no elite skirm upgrade yet for Jan Žižka, but he continues to take pretty decent trades. He's been fighting with Feudal Age against Castle Age tech. And he's got the food eco now to be able to make knights. Now, that's not normally something you want to make long-term with the Japanese, but against skirmishers and against siege, it would feel very valuable to me. And there's a knight there. The siege workshop might even be denied, and Alexios is falling apart.
Yeah, I mean, Japanese knights in the Castle Age as strong as anyone else's, right? So happy to make them for the time being, and maybe even looking to end this game in the Castle Age, but the other direction, as he denies that siege workshop for the time being. One knight making quick work of all of those elite skirmishers. What an investment of resources that was for Alexios, only to lose these units, and he's still sitting on Feudal Age archers. He will eventually get rid of that knight and maybe buy himself the time to get that siege workshop up. But an amazing defense here for Jan Žižka, as he's already extended to a second TC as well behind all of this. The eco advantage will continue to climb.
There is a dock in the south for Alexios, so he might be able to kill some of the fishing ships. Obviously, both players are microing like crazy here, but Alexios is like, you're not going to be able to defend that because you're never going to expect that I'm docking next to your dock. So he might try the same thing here, honestly. Oh my God,
goodness. It's kind of brilliant though, right? When everything is so focused on the center of the map, and your opponent who has shown you, okay, I'm gonna have my fire galleys patrol in these areas of the shoreline where quite obviously it would be natural for you to go, he's never gonna suspect. Ooh, also, we have some chat, T90. A little sorry go.
Yeah, little sorry go. Maybe a little pause action. Everyone does pause on occasion, depending on the circumstance. This is nothing to freak out on, but of course, this is Hidden Cup 5, so we are immediately going to assume that can only be one player. You gotta love it. Jan Žižka noticed that pond. He has 2 TCs producing vills. He is slowly climbing and gaining a lead. I just noticed he was incredibly late on some eco upgrades, though, so that's good that he's doing that now.
Okay, 4 knights, cav archers coming forward now. Feels like he's done enough, at least, at the front. Gonna allow himself to absorb some of this pressure with this house walling and dive right through underneath the TC. Oh, this could be super dangerous here for Alexios. Let's see if those quick walls are on point.
Yeah, Alexios has got to do the same then, right? Like, if your opponent's army is going into your base, you got to do the same to him. And now, best of luck to these villagers to survive. You got to defend what you can. Those villagers are going to go down. The other villagers are going to run. But Alexios could, in theory, continue through here. Really nice defense from Jan Žižka so far. He's actually missing the wood for his own mangonel. Very impressive on the damage control. I know he's lost vills, but it could have been worse for him. He needs siege. And this has gotten very messy. And in a messy game, it's hard to just look at the eco stats and say that one player is ahead. And it's easy to have holes in your wood lines. Alexios, no!
Oh, this could be an absolute disaster. 4 knights, not enough military back there to defend just yet. A few crossbows, a few skirmishers. Yes, the cav archers are going to have to move, and just in that moment takes the opportunity to drop the 2 knights out of the stable and look for the pick here on the mangonel in the back of his base. Great to get rid of that siege. Still is going to have to deal with the military, but amazing villager finds here from an even Eco KD, now ballooning up to 12 kills here in favor of Jan Žižka. GG's called.
GG's called. Jan Žižka. He had a whole lot happening there. His opponent was contesting both of his pawns. Very easy to not see that. Very easy to not react to those very obvious yet sneaky docks. And then that army in front of his base, he just ignored. It was gutsy, but it was glorious there from Jan Žižka. Jan Žižka ties it up. Again, a beautiful game in what I consider, or what I now consider to be maybe one of the closely contested quarterfinals we'll have. 1-1. The difference for me is Jan Žižka played cross, okay? Went for the TPD, the triple pawn domination. Alexios played, oh my God, I have 6 fishing ships now to defend my crossbow push. He played Arabia while ignoring the other pawns and thought that with his micro he would have enough. So unfortunately, you got to prioritize the fish a little bit more, and didn't work out there for Alexios. And we are here game 3 for what I would call the matchup. The matchup that Bay has brought me the best Bay memories. We have Alexios, who changed his color again. Leary confirmed. We're going to put him back in the yellow. Alexios has gone for his #1 pick, the Mongols. And Jan Žižka has the Italians.
Mongols. I mean, and as you mentioned, such great matchups between these two civs on this map in the past. And I think in particular because, of course, people will recognize Italians as one of the strongest water civs. Cheap attacks, good control over that bay itself. But Mongols having the ability to take a very different approach to this map, at times fully ignoring the water, extending out to those deer on the outskirts of the map, and then maybe contesting later back on water if you so please. But either way, just utilizing that food bonus in a different way here for the Mongols.
Yeah, and there's a lot of hunt on this map. So this is maybe one of the rare instances where we won't just see the players take the initial deer, but we may actually see the Mongol player choose to really expand with villagers and take hunt pretty much all the way towards Castle Age. Like, the Mongols have that ability. I think every other civilization that's being picked is very frequently having to contest on water, and they have a lot of water bonuses. But with the deer being everywhere, I think that will be Alexios' focus. But then it's a question of, like, what do you do against the Italians on water? Because the Italians are going to want the fish. So usually you're seeing, like, you still have to respect the water, and you don't want to give the Italians the water too easily here, while also still playing towards your ability to focus on land and taking the hunt.
And we see the Italians player, Jan Žižka, moving out, dropping the house first. Doc will follow soon enough. Boar coming in as well. Both players, great back golds. Haven't yet seen, is this a very lengthy deer pushing going on here for Alexios. So again, utilizing that Mongols hunt bonus in a different way by going for the long range deer pushes.
Okay, so Dash, I'm going to ask you a question. Feel free to be very honest with me, okay? Our friendship does not get affected by this answer, nor does your invitations to future casts. What's the name of this map?
I like to refer to it as Pantalones. But, that's just because I've been spending a lot of time on Duolingo studying my Spanish recently.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. I was just curious on that. Like I said, nothing's affected whatsoever. I was just curious what you're thinking. So good to know.
Yeah,
good to
naturally. Know. Yeah. Glad I could square that circle for you there. On how it's really supposed to be pronounced.
It's really frustrating that I don't have a way to describe that upper mountainous line beyond calling it the belt, which then just reinforces people's feeling that this is called pants. I'd need something to, like, is that the Acropolis? Is that what I should be saying? Like, Belt just feels so natural.
The plateau, you could kind of call it a plateau. I mean, it does slope up, which I guess is not quite plateau-ish, but if you're really trying to get away from it, perhaps that's where you go. The ridge, I'm seeing some suggestions from chat and calling it a ridge. The dunes.
I think people will find this funny. So with some of the Hidden Cup maps, we've made tweaks every time. This came into Hidden Cup 2, so it's been around a while. And my idea to make it a little bit less water focused was to add some level of incentive towards the middle. And I wanted to add some elevation there to, if you control the hill, you control that area of the map. I thought we could have some elevation in the middle area extending from the water towards the belt. And I had some very good ideas. I was like, this is going to be really competitive, and this is going to change the map. It's going to change the meta. But because people call it pants, I realized I absolutely cannot add elevation right there because, well, you guys could put 2 and 2 together. So I decided against changing the map solely because of the meme. Hope you guys are happy.
Right.
Here we have Jan Žižka now making a second dock.
Yeah, we all like a good battle at the Bulge, just maybe not on this map, you know?
Yeah. Not in Age of Empires. So Alexios up, going for 2 fires. And this is a very fast uptime here. So he's used the Mongol hunt solely to just take the Italians off of water.
Yeah, already 2 docks dropped. A second one coming down, though, here for Jan Žižka as well as he reaches the Feudal Age. So he's going to try and mount that defense and keep control of the water as best he can. Scout's doing some dancing in the back of the base, but the first fire ship comes forward now. And Jan Žižka's going to have to run with those fishing ships, at least for now.
I'm wondering if Alexios will ever send villagers over to an area of hunt, because you have to walk a long way. You might already think, I'm going to kill these fish. I don't want to build a mill all the way towards the pants pocket region, and maybe you want to stay at home. But I think there is incentive for the Mongols to be out there over time. Just something to think about here, as right now, I mean, Jan Žižka still doesn't have his first fire ship because of all this aggression right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is phenomenal play here out of Alexios right out the gate, right? Using that faster uptime to take control of the water. Of course, we still have an opportunity to respond with those garrison flags on the dock here, and we'll wait for the Italian player to feel like he's got the forces required. I see 1 demo in the queue, and those could always turn the tides of a naval battle.
So I think this will become more meta over time. You see how Jan Žižka has placed his docks so closely together? This is because your docks block damage from fires. So you can sit your fires in there and do damage at multi-directions to the enemy fires, but they can't do damage to you from all angles. Like right there, this is the perfect example. You wedge your ships in there. They can only attack you head-on, and no one wants to attack you head-on when you could do that.
Demo?
The demo didn't land, and now it will land. But look, right back into the little cubby. And now how are you supposed to go in there? No!
Oh no!
That is not the meta. I'm wrong, or maybe I'm right. I thought it was a good idea for a second, and Alexios said, you just trapped yourself, bud.
Yeah, look, T90, you got to be a risk taker if you want to challenge the meta, right? If you want to change the face of the meta in Age of Empires. That time the risk didn't pay off for him as the demo finds a fantastic hit, and it looks like Jan Žižka's still going to produce fire galleys, though. Wants to continue contesting on the water, or at least force Alexios to continue producing himself. But what a tough position to find yourself in, and now being forced into some very conservative walls back at home.
Yeah, really scared. You got to be scared of the threat that the Mongol player has with all that food income and all that potential hunt. But I know it was a bad example about this little strat here, but this here is still a good idea to surprise your opponent. And I think Jan Žižka still has a chance to come back on water solely because of this little cubby area. And I'm thinking there's a player who did this a lot, and I can't quite put a finger on it. I want to say Sato does this a lot, but I'd have to think on it more. Here he comes, and he's suddenly surprising his opponent with a lot more Navy than Alexios was expecting.
Yeah, but still the numbers, right, in favor of Alexios, and another demo coming forward. And how about this? The real-time adjustments by Alexios as well. His opponent is tucking fire galleys back behind the docks, produces a singular galley of his own to micro-nerd and force your opponent to come out and fight.
That is really smart, because the trick I'm mentioning here, nice demo there from Janjiska, it doesn't apply to arrows. It only applies to the fire. I think at this point, Janjiska, he's got one more wave in him to try and damage his opponent there on water, but it does feel like the Mongol player has overall succeeded in not giving the Italians free reign over the sea, or the pond, or the bay.
Yeah, and we see back at home the market going up, the resources looking phenomenal here for Alexios. Only 130 food needed before he can click up to the Castle Age, and still has full control over the water. One dock removed from the map. Villager coming forward to repair and continue to try and keep things active in the defense, but at the very least, it's looking good for Alexios. Soon to make it to the Castle Age, full control over the game.
I feel like every time, like, even though Alexios is going to be in Castle Age faster and all that, I do feel like every time he has an advantage, he's too, for lack of a better word, too lazy to pull back a ship and repair it. And then Janjiska gets a hit with a fire or a demo, and then Janjiska's still kind of in the game on water. Now, Res Collect, there's not a big difference. Obviously, that can change for Alexios if he gets to Castle Age and adds TCs. But with it being cheaper for the Italians to get up to the next age, I do think Janjiska is going to be able to still extend this one, but definitely it feels awkward for him. Neither player has their scout, by the way. Both their scouts died, so they're just kind of in the dark and dancing on water right now.
Yeah, near equivalent resources collected between the two players. Small lead for our Mongols player while he is on the way to the Castle Age. The big difference comes in the resources destroyed. Once again, similar to game one of the day here on Arabia, it's Alexios who's just running away with the resource destruction and really forcing Jan to invest, overly invest, just to stay competitive here on water.
There's a theme here for Alexios where his ability to be aggressive is unmatched. His micro is superior, and his eco balance behind the fights is insane. The thing that I noticed in the previous games with Alexios is sometimes he doesn't do a lot of like long-term objective-based stuff. Like in Cross, he didn't add TCs that early. He didn't take the other pawns, for example. So I'm now, what's going to tell me a lot about the type of player Alexios is how does he deal with a boom scenario? Because it's what he's going to do. He's going to drop the TCs now. How does he play with like basically no army in Castle Age? That could give us a lot of intel.
Yeah, and on the flip side, right, how does Janjiska fight back from this position, right? Because you see Castle Age come in that much quicker for your opponent. You've already lost control of the water, and that dock looks to go down soon. I do see the barracks being dropped, so there has to be some kind of military response, right? You can't just try and catch up, you know, 3 TCs to 3 TCs while you're behind. Some damage has to be dealt.
Yeah, so that interesting decision. Alexios goes 3 TC right away. Keep in mind, has had fishing ships, his opponent does not. And one of those TCs is immediately on the stone, which is always very far forward on this map. So he's going to go for a monastery to get relics, which again is very long-term objective-based stuff. But he goes 3 TCs right away. So he doesn't add a barracks. He doesn't add a stable. On the other side, Janjiska, he did at least add a barracks, which tells me he might eventually add some scouts. And he's going to drop a TC on the stone and on the wood. And he's going to drop a monastery. So this is going late. And I love the play from both players, Dash, because the stone is actually the most important thing here. The stone is always in that position. It's always exposed. And both players are basically like, yup, I know how important my unique unit is. And I'm going to start mining stone right now.
Yeah, my concern, though, once again, just comes back to the already 12 eco difference between the players, right?
Yeah.
And if you're both essentially, you know, opting into a similar strategy or the same strategy and approach to the game, the person who's ahead will stay ahead. You know, and then when I think about late game, Mongols, very happy to say, okay, you want to sit there and go late with me? Let's do it.
Look at that Spearman scouting. That's great. Spearman scouts the TC and also sees there's a monk. So knows his opponent is going to be going for relics. Now scouts this TC. Wow, this Spearman is the GOAT, dude. This Spearman
right there.
Yeah. He's really seen a lot. I also like the vision and outposting from Alexios through the middle.
Fourth
which
TC.
late game do you prefer if you had to choose one? Let's say
I choose
Mongols or Italians.
I go Mongols. I'm glad you chose the 2 civs that are in the game, as opposed to giving me 2 other civ options.
Well, okay. So what I was sorry, what I was gonna say initially, I was gonna say pretend Mongols don't get siege onager.
Okay, yeah.
Pretend it's just onager.
For a moment when you started listing the civs out, I was like, what kind of curveball is T90 about to throw at me? Do you like Italians or Bohemians? Okay, well.
It's been a long week, dude.
Yeah, I feel you, man. You've been grinding, and the grind is evident in the quality of the tournament, shall I say? So good on you there, and we'll forgive you for any of the couple of missteps you make along the way. But I'm gonna go Mongols, but a lot of that just comes from 2 things. I mean, number one, mobility, right? Still, at the end of the day, while Italians in the unique unit battle, I mean, Genoese into Mangudai aren't gonna hate that trade that much, right?
Yep.
I just think mobility becomes such a huge factor on this map when most of the time the only safe part of the eco that we see for either person is the initial TC area, right?
Yeah,
and you're forced to extend so far out that the ability to reroute your Mangudai and maybe your Trebs to take important positions, I think that can't be overstated, rather.
Yeah, mobility's huge. I agree. I do wonder though if like right now Alexios is thinking too much about the late game and just forgetting about some of the small stuff you can do. Jan Žižka, he saw that there was a monk out there with a spearman a long time ago, and I think the spearman may have switched sides now, so he's a traitor. But stuff like that, adding the extra scouts for a little bit of extra vision is awesome. There also may be a villager from Alexios who has been outposting all around Jan Žižka's base, which is an underrated move. I just see yellow dots everywhere, so we'll have to look at that. But I see ranges being dropped from Alexios, which is interesting. Normally, if you have enough stone for a castle, you want to think Mangudai. Double range makes me think we're going to see something else.
Yeah, and we have got archers in the queue. So there you have it. It's going to be at least crossbows for the time being.
Okay.
Into Arbalest.
Why are we going to try and go into Arbalest with the Mongols? We have faster firing cav archers, or we have Mangudai. Leary confirmed. He's obsessed with Arbalest. Leary confirmed, dude.
Here's why you do it, T90. Because you're going forward for a castle, and you want to be able to produce trebs out of your castle and kill your opponent.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and so I do think that it's just a play for an initial Imperial Age spike.
Yep. And I think Alexios is very concerned as we see Jan Žižka try and do something on water here. I think he's concerned that Mangudai would get countered by Genoese crossbow because Genoese crossbow have a bonus against cavalry, which would still apply to the Mangudai. So it's actually rather interesting to turn this into like a Treb push with Arbalest instead of the super powerhouse late game of the Mongols. I don't hate it because he's going to be an imp faster, and that's a very forward castle from Jan Žižka that could easily be trapped down.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's a scary position here for Jan Žižka, and I'm going to question the 4th TC edition because Italians having a cheaper imp cost, right? If you had stayed on 3 TCs, we could have seen these imp times be matched, and then all of a sudden I might be answering your previous question where I favor the Italians for exactly the point you're making, which is Genoese are going to have a happy matchup into the Mangudai, and then even still, if I can match you in your Imperial Age timing, perhaps in a Treb war I ultimately win out. But I think maybe over-investment in trying to catch up in the eco could bite him in the end. But we see some of the techs coming in now, fetching for both players already. We've got, another castle position forward, not yet scouted here by Jan Žižka.
This is very unlike Mongols, but it is very fitting, possibly, for the situation. I mean, the forward castles. You're always thinking defensive castles. Now, of course, if he loses this game, the first thing we're going to say is he should have made his castles defensively and make Mangudai. But that Mangudai slides
How did that
into
Mangudai get there?
Just like waltzed right through a hole in a wall. Janjishka didn't notice.
This Mangudai is about to have Bracer. It has ballistics, and there's no answer right now.
This is all you need. Who goes full Mangudai when you can just make one? And the villagers are angry. And the villagers are going to win.
I mean, they'll get the kill.
Yeah.
3 vills down, though.
Okay, so Mongols don't get bombard cannon. Italians do. Italians have the cheaper university techs. Man, I love as well how Alexios made outposts in his opponent's eco. I was able to get away with it. That vision from him is so valuable to know all the different areas he can hit. But this has been spotted. Janjishka knows about it. He won't be surprised. There's a little attack from Alexios too. Again, it's Trebs. In a minute, Jishka can make bombard cannons. But all the momentum is here for Alexios.
Yeah, 2 Trebs already on the field. 3, actually, and another one in the queue. He's now got crossbows finding his way to the wood line. This is so reminiscent of the first series that Alexios played. He's a boa constrictor, right?
Yep.
And I realize I say that, and I don't think that this is the Viper. I don't think it's the Snake, but he's playing like a snake, and he just suffocates his opponents.
Yeah. And this is also something I wouldn't have expected from Alexios. I would have said that players like Alexios would very commonly do the typical thing better than you, right? Obviously with with more of a feeling, more of a love for archers from what we've seen. But this strategy is never something the Italians are expecting here. They're just expecting to have to deal with Mangudai and the Hussars. They expect to have time to mass their Genoese. And Alexios is not giving his opponent time. He's not going to allow his opponent to have any castles. And with 4 bomber cannons in the queue right now for Janjishka, he's got to repair with everything he has and hope those bomber cannons get here fast. Because if he loses his castle dash, there's nothing to stop Hussars from raiding him to death.
Yeah, and with just those couple crossbows that made it into the back of the base, look at the gold count. While both castles have now dropped for the Italian player, there's only 10 villagers on gold. He's been shoved off of his main gold, only has 1 other gold pile to remain. Skirmisher coming back will finally get him back onto that all-important gold position, but he's also lost so much on the front in the process.
Yeah, 6 bomber cannons in queue. Still no bomber cannons. Where are these bomber cannons? Capture rate just telling 7 in queue. I don't know exactly what's happening. He's about to have all of them at once.
And he's got 4
possibly
siege
from
workshops.
a bunch of different siege workshops. Yeah, there we go. But he's lost his castle. He could lose his Trebs here. Alexios continuing to repair his castle. Bombard cannons have been spotted now, and they need to roll this way. I think if you're Alexios, you do like 1 or 2 more volleys with your Trebs on the enemy Trebs, and then you have to pack up here. This is actually getting a little bit worrying. You don't want to end up losing these Trebs. Uh-oh.
Yeah, Bombard Cannon's the one unit that can really turn this game around, right? You're playing Skirmishers and Trebuchets right now into Bombard Cannons, and that's a losing battle. So does take your advice after losing 2. Will back up, and look at that. A couple Step Lancers. A couple Step Lancers here. Looking for the numbers and the forging upgrade. Now he's going to swoop in and try and sweep up all of these siege units. If he does, that might be the killing blow. The quick walls come down here for Janjishka to force him back, and the condos are on the field as well.
Okay, so now he's got 7 bombard cannons, but he's got no way to defend them. It's kind of a funny situation because he was so desperate. And now he needs an army to defend from the Lancers. He's going to lose his Treb to the Lancers, I think. Treb's still being repaired.
He almost killed his own Trebuchet with those bombards. Did you see that?
I did. Yeah, I did do that.
Close.
And it's very likely he could kill a lot more of his own units here if he's not careful. Now he's going to make some crossbows. It makes sense for Janjishka to do this, but he calls the GG, and the score is 2-1. Alexios Komnenos, his strategy of going for archer range units and skipping the Mangudai and simply going into Trebs, what a sick strat to win that game.
Yeah, T90. I struggle to find one moment in this game where I would say Alexios made a misstep.
Yep.
From start to finish,
wild.
I think...
Which is wild.
The strategy was just so crisp and so clean. The faster Feudal into the contest on water. He sees the dock positions of his opponent, sees him tucking those fire galleys in, builds one singular ranged galley of his own to nullify that entire strategy, get the picks on the villagers. Then, with an
And the
eco
demo.
advantage, first to castle age. The demo as well punishing this. That's a great point.
Like, he actually backed away with his demo there, so he wouldn't trade 1 for 1, and he could get through there with that demo. That was just disgusting. I actually think a Persian TC drop on evacuation could be kind of good, dude.
That would be sick. That would be sick.
Yeah.
But like you said, probably not going to happen, but we'll wait for that community tournament. And now you've put that idea in so many people's heads, and we're going to see it all the time.
That's what I hope for. That's what I hope for. And we do have Persians here come game number 4. So just saying there's a chance, people. And Huns also cannot build houses to block the area where the TC could go. We are here game number 4. It is evacuation. This is the final home map for Jan Žižka. And Alexios changed his color again, and we're going to keep him in yellow because we're always sticking with the colors the players that we start with in game number 1. Now, this is a hybrid map. It's very complex. What do you think about these civs here, Dash?
I mean, I'm concerned with Huns for a couple reasons. I mean, number one, like you say, just the lack of houses, and given the openness of the map, or rather the necessity to, at a certain point, make that migration or evacuation to the Greenland side of the map, means that you might struggle. You might have some more difficulty locking down areas and ultimately protecting yourself, where we have seen a lot of players move towards full walls across both sides of the map. And that's just going to take a lot of palisade walling out of the Huns player here. And then for Persians, I mean, that feels like I'm set up very well to win water. And typically on this map, if one player is winning out on water, they're winning out overall. And the players that have ignored the water entirely, they fall quickly.
So I think that Persians are more solid overall. I think their start is smooth. Everything you said is true. The one thing that Huns excel on is when things go wrong and it's messy, Huns can dominate because they're always producing. They never get pop capped. They have that wood savings, which feels nice. So I think if Jan Žižka can make this messy, advantage to Jan Žižka. But I got to tell you, the whole strategy here behind bringing in this extra boar on the outside with the scout, Alexios did it before. And then on the other side of the bracket, Vasco da Gama did it before. But we haven't had other players doing that right there. I believe, again, we talked about it, that Alexios and Vasco da Gama are very good friends. They're practice partners, and they may be players who've seen the game similarly. And the names that come to mind when I say that would be Leary and would be Hart.
Also, T90, I just want to point out on that boar lure how ridiculous it was from Alexios this time around. Not only did he lure the boar, he went and picked up sheep in the middle of the lure, running past his own TC and then looping back around. If ever there was evidence that I will not be a pro player in the game of Age of Empires, it's witnessing something like that done without a single extra point of damage being taken or idle time anywhere else in the economy. Just disgusting.
I mean, in all fairness, we've seen a lot of players win without taking it, so you don't have to do that to win on evacuation dash. I think you could probably take him.
Okay. Well, yeah, if I go with the Persian TC forward strategy, I just might stand a chance. But we'll see. We'll see if Alexios agrees with me and goes for it himself. Either way, I think I have big questions about what the approaches will be here in the feudal age. You know, it's really difficult to get walls up across all of your economy on this map because of how spread out you're kind of forced into having your villagers be. And so both civs very happy to play into scouts, very happy to play that mobility. We could see a lot of action early on as Loom comes in here for Alexios, and pretty soon to follow will be the feudal age.
Okay, so that barracks right there, that tells Jan Žižka, and he did spot it, that his opponent's coming with militia of some kind. And that is good knowledge to have, because if things get awkward for you here on this map, with the Huns, you can't house wall. So, you know, it's a bonus to not have to make houses, but it actually hurts you when you're trying to play defensive. We're going to see Jan Žižka make a run for it here. And he did find a lot of extra cows, as Stats Guy points out. But we'll see what happens with the woodlines here. He's got a lot of vills making the run for it. Normally, in all the games I saw prior to Hidden Cup, and the way I think this map is going to be played out these days, I think it's just going to be a mix of archers and ships. So I would predict like fire ships, and also fire ships and archers would make sense here, just because it's so easy. You have very little on food, and you send everything else to wood and everything else to gold, which is what those two things I mentioned cost.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I'm worried for Jan at this point, because if we can kind of zoom out and look at the map from a more macro perspective, the wood lines in the south there for Jan around his lumber camp, his first wood line is very far from that river crossing, where normally we'll see people go with a very quick, short palisade wall to at least funnel their opponent into one specific area. He doesn't have that option, where on the flip side, Alexios has a much easier wall, at least to know where the pressure is going to be coming from if it comes from the southern side.
It definitely feels like that wood line is far away here for Jan Žižka, but this is where the focus is going to be. I mean, he's got, what, 2 trees left there. He's going to move over to the straggler trees. Okay, Alexios is doing the same exact build that we saw from Vasco da Gama. We are seeing archers, and we are seeing galleys. Everybody else has gone for fires on water. There haven't been many players that have had the confidence to go for galleys. So again, there's a lot of parallels. Alexios also went for the Turks on bypass play in the first round. Really annoying play here from Alexios. I cannot stress to you guys how easy it is to look away for a second and make a mistake right now if you're Jan Žižka and lose a villager.
Yeah, at the very least, the micro for both players has been good so far. And we have both players contesting water, right? So we're going to be in a situation, unlike some of the matchups we've seen, where one player completely forgoes it. And we have the archery range coming up second here for Jan Žižka. Might go directly into skirms just to counter the archers that I assume he suspects are coming his way. And the skirms are in the queue.
Really, you got to keep that scout alive on this map in most cases. There's a really nice job there from Jan Žižka to not really have to deal with this drush all that much. The cows have actually helped. He's got a lot of food underneath the TC, and he does have fires headed over towards the fish from Alexios. Now, what he'll need to do is he needs to track where Alexios is going, and I hate to keep bringing this back to how Vasco played it, but Vasco, I mean, though so far has been a really good example of a player who is really complete so far in Hidden Cup. And what he would do with these archers is he would go towards the evacuated villagers. And I think Jan Žižka spotted this. I think he knows. Let's see. Wow, he actually sees this with his scout. We'll lose the scout, but at least those archers are not going to be able to make it over to those villagers there, which is what we were concerned about.
Yeah, very aware of where his opponent's movements are and looking to take the hill as well. But those 2 Dark Age militia doing a phenomenal job of pushing the skirms away, and now he's bought himself the space to make the run for it.
Yep, you got a tower now. You got a tower. I mean, that or wall it up somehow. Those archers have fletching. That's no joke. He is going to bring the skirms over. There we have a fire on the fish. The galleys are making a move elsewhere for Alexios. So he has to micro galleys. He has to micro archers. He has to macro with his eco. Nice job from Jan Žižka, though. Killing the fish. Also not losing the villagers here. He will lose some cows and some deer. But I'm very impressed with how he's tracked this so far. And we still got to pay attention to his fish, though. I mean, this map is really, really difficult.
Yeah, both players still executing brilliantly here on their chosen strategies. Those are the galleys we were talking about, trying to make their way forward to possibly threaten some fishing ships and find some picks. But like you say, back at home, under threat from the fire galleys himself, and we've seen a small eco advantage creep up here for Jan Žižka.
Yeah, and you would expect the Persians with the faster producing TCs, the faster producing docks, the stronger docks, you'd think they have a lot of bonuses here. And they do, but it's taken time for the galleys to really get to a sizable number. The galleys also aren't all together, so that galley gets pushed away. I really think with the way that area looks for Jan Žižka, You have to play so perfect to not lose vills in that outer area. I just love to see a tower at some point. Like, a tower in a vulnerable area on this map is not something you should lose much sleep over. I know players are resistant to the idea. Wow, such a sick job from Janjiska to track that. But you look away for a second, you miss a couple archers, and you're down 6 vills, and that could end the game. So you gotta pay very close attention and consider a tower.
Yeah, and I agree, because now we're starting to see him get pulled apart a little bit, right? You know, just groups of 3 archers at a time here from Alexios. Just such amazing army control, threatens more villagers. Now they have to run, even finds 1 pick here in the end. And so, with the galleys now finally finding some numbers, going to find another pick as well. So great on Alexios to keep the pressure forward. Meanwhile, getting some of those walls up across the main section of his base. I do see some blue dots, though, there looping around. I think it's just skirmishers, though.
Yeah, just skirms. I think the problem there for Janjiska was he left with his skirms, but this is not going to be something Alexios expects. Alexios, if anything, is going to be expecting those ranged units to be hitting him where he's taking the berries. He is not prepared to deal with a little army of skirmishers and archers and a spear. I mean, this could lead to some damage that Alexios isn't prepared to deal with right now. And for an otherwise clean economy, Alexios is going to take losses, and this will definitely ruin his plans as he's headed towards the next stage here.
Yeah, opting to fight with the villagers, just like he did in game number 1, as the Khmer hasn't lost one yet. The boxing gloves are on. We're targeting the archers. There's only 1 more in that pack. Is he really going to get away without losing a single vill?
I think he lost that one. But
he lost 1.
Just his immediate response of being like, okay, I'm just going to fight it off with vills. We buy time for army, and we're fine. The fact that he did that was really nice there. And keep in mind, he's still winning on water there. He's going to click up to Castle Age at a pretty decent time. But again, it's like Alexios just doesn't give a crap, man. But maybe he should, because now Janjiska's paying closer attention and kills another villager.
That's exactly right. So more archers coming back to respond. About 10 on the way. Should be able to wrap up this army. The villager gets away. Puts on his dancing shoes.
As Janjiska was using
so there we have the
spears. He was using the spear and the skirm in front, which is pretty fancy there. Really like how Alexios walled to the edge of his island, so his opponent can't access his crossing, and Janjiska not expecting the walls. Oh, but he sees the vill, and Janjiska snipes the weak vill that escaped from him earlier. That was impressive. So Eco KD 6-5, very close. Uptime's also very even. Alexios will be up faster, but a beautiful find for Janjiska.
Yeah, concern for me overall, though, is that while the Eco KD is near equivalent, the overall KD 25-14, we see 19-2 in the army count, with 9 archers on the field and Castle Age being quicker here for Alexios. That tells me we're going to see that crossbow bodkin click nice and early, and possibly more damage to follow. What could be the killing blow early on in the Castle Age if Janjiska doesn't find a response. Perhaps that tower you asked for. I see less stone in the bank, so may have dropped it, actually, for safety down on the Greenland.
Sensing a real theme here, Dash. Archers, crossbowmen, every single game here from Alexios. I mean, he did it with the freaking Mongols in the previous game. This is a player who loves his archers. Now, this is... Janjiska has to drop another tower to protect his wood, and this is far from ideal. The crossbow and bodkin threat, even if it doesn't kill anything, has already accomplished enough with that. Janjiska down 2-1 already. This is his last home map here. He needs to find an answer. I mean, maybe like a sneaky demo or something, but Alexios, who paused again, interesting.
Another sorry go. Okay.
Another sorry go. Alexios needs to find something, Dash. I'm thinking, like, I've seen a lot of games with Huns throughout my career. If you somehow can breathe, before you know it, you'll have a big mass, and you can come back, especially against a bad skirmisher civ like Persian. So that's what your hope is here, but Alexios isn't exactly letting him breathe right now.
No, not at all. And while all of this pressure continues to kind of clamp down on Janjiska, we see the second TC being dropped by that wood line. back at home. So he's going to beat his opponent to the increased villager production and still has complete map control, it seems, keeping most of the focus on this side of the map.
Mm-hmm. Farms getting shot down. Alexios did this in the round of 16, which I guess was 2 days ago for him because he was the final round. So he's like, okay, I can't kill your vills right now because you're going to hide them? Cool. I'll just take all your farms. And oh my god, oh no! Oh, Jan Žižka trying to escape! And he runs right into the Navy, and oh, this is horrible.
Yeah, he went for the river crossing. I mean, it was, a game-saving play, I think, right? If he gets away with it. To just kind of reestablish himself completely on the southern side of the map. And it's a risk you have to take, right, when you feel like you're on the back foot. So I can respect the move, but unfortunately, Alexios is in position, waiting there with the open arms of the galleys. The gold being completed in that moment, so he can at least back away from that resource. But the pressure continues here with the crossbows. Just so much value found out of 14 crossbows. I mean, it's incredible to see.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 9 of them right here. He's got 14 on the map. He's probably got 5 more. He's ready to nerd out elsewhere. Like, this micro from his crossbows is ridiculous. The guy's not taking a single hit. And I remember saying a similar thing in the first game when his opponent had skirms and supposedly had an army to counter him. But here's the next wave from Alexios. Alexios is playing out of his mind. I mean, he played great in the round of 16. But in the quarterfinals, he's somehow so much better.
Come on, man. He's got his number right now. 3 crossbows, Knight, Camel. Finding a TC. He can back up out of tower range here and continue to harass. The GG is called.
I mean, it felt like after the first 2, man, oh man, are these guys similar. But every single game now, Alexios is just finding that crossbow play. And the timings of his attacks, the unit control is great. The thing that is so underrated about Alexios' play is if you go to the economy tab, his res collected is amazing. There's a lot of really good archer players out there, but they have to sacrifice their economy to do it. What Alexios does a sick job of is balancing the eco while also going for the archer play. And to quote a player who told me this, his name is Daniel, he played in the qualifier. To quote Daniel, something he told me 3 years ago, he said, the best players will use their micro to set up their macro, meaning they don't need much, but because their unit control is so good, they've got these moments where they take full advantage, and behind it, they've just got villager after villager on farms, and the efficiencies there. Viewers, are you enjoying this right now? I'm hoping we get more games for you. Obviously, Game 5 coming up. I hope everyone has been enjoying Hidden Cup 5. The level's been insane. People said they're having fun, and what better place to take people who say they're having fun but to islands, where Alexios actually goes to color yellow again, which we've kept him on because that's what he started the series off with in Game 1. Alexios playing as the Vikings, Jan Žižka playing as the Koreans. We've got some rather off-centered islands here, and I did cover both of these players playing islands. Both of them won on islands in the round of 16, so I think the confidence is there. But Vikings, definitely more of your typical pick, I think, Dash.
100% agree with you there, in that it's more typical. But of course, Koreans still plenty of power to be packed into what is their navy, as well as a possible landing. Just going to call that out. I would love to see maybe Jan throw a curveball at Alexios and go for maybe a landing and towers and just be super aggressive, make the game messy. Because as we pointed out earlier, as the series has rolled on, the moment Alexios in these last 2 games has gotten a slight advantage, he has cruise controlled his way to a victory. So I don't think you can let him approach the game in such a stable way anymore.
Agreed. I spot on. I was just going to say that. I think the key for Jan Žižka, and this is something he showed he was very comfortable with when he played on islands in the round of 16, is to go for a landing here. I know that, like, you might be scared to go to land against a player who's dominated you on land, but usually a player like Alexios on islands, he's just going to be like, oh, great, I don't have crossbows, I have galleys now, even better. They're faster, I can micro them more. So he's going to go galley only, and Vikings don't have fires, so it's like pretty certain they're going to go galleys. The key then becomes, when do you do the landing? What Jan Žižka did when he played against his prior opponent was a back dock. It was a fast castle into Navy, and then also into the landing. So it could do a combo. Obviously, we'll see, but I think you got to make it messy here with the Koreans.
Yeah, and also oddly akin to the previous series that you and I cast, which Alexios was in, we have that peculiar generation on this map, right? Where
Yep.
what you think might be a back dock might be a forward dock, or what you think might be a forward dock might be a side dock. And so I'm really curious to see how both players react when they finally get a ship out onto the field and can scout out where their opponent's island truly is.
Yeah, so where this could be bad for you, this awkward, this different island gen, let's say, okay? Where this could be bad for you is if you're trying to do an offensive dock and it's not close to the enemy, which there's no possibility because if you're going to front dock, it's still going to be rather close to the enemy. But the worst case scenario for me as like the tournament host and whatnot is like if someone tries to go for a back dock and then it ends up being rather forward because of this. Like if they were to dock these sides here between the players. But as a player, you look at the mini map and you want to shift towards the corners of the map to be further away from your opponent. So Jan Žižka wisely going more to the north simply because he's closer to the corner of the map. He knows that is further away from most of the pressure. And then Alexios is probably built. See, this dock doesn't necessarily mean fast castle, but you usually want, because of the threat of the fires, want your docks off to the sides anyways. So I don't think the dock positions are going to influence whatever strategy they're going for hugely, in my opinion.
I would agree with you there, but it does look like Alexios is already thinking about Feudal Age with Loom rather coming in and just about 5 food needed. There it is to make his way to the Feudal Age. So again, will be the first to make it to that next stage and give himself the opportunity to be the aggressor, which he's loved to have been throughout the duration of this series.
You only research Loom if you are expecting that the opponent could land you. And
right.
The matchup would be one where you would expect it for the reasons we explained. And again, reminder, Alexios didn't get to see that Jan Žižka went back dock, fast castle in round 1, right? It was all played behind closed doors, right? So, you know, if whoever wins here is going to move on to the semis. At that point, the semis are played live tomorrow. They can make informed decisions based on what their opponents have done. Maybe ban certain civs, maybe ban certain maps. But, like, they came in here with no intel. It was all hidden. And so I'm curious to see kind of how Alexios approaches this because we're not seeing a landing yet. And he is going to go water, but his opponent's dock is like way in the back.
Yeah, so it's going to take quite some time, perhaps that full minute's difference in the click up there for the ships to even traverse that length and begin to threaten the very safe fishing economy that Jan has built up in the back. And as Alexios hits the Feudal Age, we see 22 in the eco count to the 27 of his opponent. So a much healthier eco once he reaches there. But of course, an opportunity for a tech advantage and some aggression with those galleys that are immediately in the queue.
Yeah, so Alexios is scouting right now. He knows that area of his island is the most vulnerable. He didn't see anything. Jan Žižka scouting around as well, but he'll see Feudal Age, and that won't shock him because he's expecting galleys. Now against, was it the Alpaca? Let's see. It was, Jan Žižka beat Alfred the Alpaca 4-2. And that islands game, it was back dock, it was 8 fishing ships, into his own galleys, and then into fires for Jan Žižka. So it's kind of a similar thing here. It's very weird. Like, I would normally associate back dock with a full fast castle, but it's not happening, and there goes Alexios. So now from Alexios' perspective, if we see his fog of war, he sees a neutral island. He's like, okay, where's the opponent's island? I don't see the opponent's
island. You might even think this is it for a moment.
Island. Yeah, he's like, oh, that's it. Great. Finally, someone, like, maybe if he was landing, he would make a mistake. You know, it happens. It's normal.
But that would be the first time anyone's ever done that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a weird.
True.
It's a weird suggestion, T90. If I do say so myself.
And now he's looking, and now he sees the island. So now he knows his opponent's kind of spread out. And the idea behind Jan Žižka's build here is that he is going to have the time by by the time his opponent gets to him, to have galleys to match the amount that shows up. This is a very Viper-esque approach, a very experienced islands player approach, and experienced island players have normally been around since like the 2013, 14, 15 era.
Yeah, but he split his galleys up here in order to get that scouting information. And on the flip side, it's Jan Žižka who's decided to keep his grouped up, and we'll find the first pick in the naval battle. And so no damage found yet by the player who opted to go up to the feudal age much faster.
And now it's Jan Žižka's turn to be confused because he's going to see that. And he should realize that is the opponent's main island. But now he's like, do I loop around to the front? Do I keep going back here? What do I do? And honestly, the direction he's going might actually work out for him if Alexios is confused. But so far, I really like the build from Jan Žižka because he's been able to find a nice pick, and he's been able to make things messy here against the Vikings.
Yeah, and he's done it all with a 3 advantage in the fishing ship count, right? And I also, T90, see a transport in the queue for the Korean player. That excites me.
This is the same thing. This is the same exact build. Jan Žižka said, this is my strat. I'm going to practice it throughout the practice period. And because people can't see what I'm going to do and just adapt to it on the draft, I'm going to try and get my win again. It's the same exact thing he did, only with a different civ. Now, will it work? Because that is the best area to transport through. And Alexios is waiting right now. And they're going to meet each other in the choke point. I would prefer to be the lumberjack villagers or the gold miners. I would not want to be the villagers that are going to hop inside that transport right now.
No, high risk job right there for very little reward, at least in the villager's mind, that is. But let the micro battles begin then on water, because like you say, it's up to Jan to transport these villagers safely to the other side of the map, and he's not going to be able to cross that very short channel and might have to take a longer loop around. And you can see Alexios, I think he has a sense. I think he's got a sense. He's really trying to hunt and even force those fights, right? To say, hey, if you're going to try and land me, you're going to have to come right through my navy.
This is what Alexios wanted. He's like, finally, it's a galley war. Finally. Now, this transport's going to have to do a sneaky little loop-de-loop. And Jan Žižka is on stone with the Koreans, so you would expect this to be a tower rush of some kind. There goes 4 villagers and the scout. And I don't think Alexios will have any indicators. We might want to stay on Alexios' fog of war. Microing to the side. Nothing to see here. Move along. Move along. There goes the transport.
He's getting away with it.
Yeah. I mean,
okay, but now the question becomes, where does the castle go? And also, you're still 300 stone away from being able to place it. So is it market use that's going to get us there? Are we going for the scouts on that island as well? Or is it, it's just going to be a tower play? Okay.
Yeah, I actually, dream scenario for Jan Žižka, because you're going to be in Castle Age faster, which means you can upgrade your ships. And when this tower completes, you are right next to one of the main golds from Alexios. So Alexios is going to die.
You're going to be able to upgrade your ships, but Alexios is just going to take the fight.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the thinking from Alexios, but honestly, from what we're seeing, this is still a worse fight for him. And the upgrades are going to click in. Assuming Jan Žižka micros, he's going to get Bodkin. And now with Bodkin Arrow, he's got the stronger navy. And dude, just drop another tower, Jan Žižka. Yeah, waste no time. Drop another tower. Siege Workshop on Alexios' face. And Alexios is going to be like, no, this is not what I wanted.
Yeah, let him know. Let him know what's coming. I love to see it. But I mean that. I mean that very honestly. Like it's because what do you do now as Alexios? You're not Castle yet. You're about to hit, but you're sitting there going, what is my response? And I can already see one tower coming down. That's as much of a foothold as the Korean player needs to really, really start putting the pressure on.
Yep, and now it should open up opportunities for you to be successful on water because the landing is threatening enough. Now, I don't know if you want to leave the safety of your siege workshop, but those towers are not going to go down easily, and there's going to be a Mangonel that pops out here in a moment here for Jan Žižka. And what a good position. Honestly, at this stage, and I think he shifted his thinking too, I don't even know if you have to push. If those 3 towers stay up, and this remains here until like late Castle Age, you have already done enough to potentially have an edge if this goes to late game Water War. So, fun moment for Jan Žižka fans right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the sweet spot, right, is pressure, not pushing, right? Like, you want to apply it. He almost killed his own scout there, so let's let's take a quick breath there, Jan. Oh, no, the micro battle. Oh, he loses it out.
I mean, I'm not ready to give up on Alexios just yet. He's got a big Navy count. He's going to go in. He's going to find the fishing ships. The Navy from Jan Žižka is out of position. And Alexios is just a freaking beast. Even though the towers are going up, even though it's stressful, he's got an opportunity if he could potentially dominate on water right now.
Yeah, running with the fishing ships, and Alexios is on the chase, but it was Jan who got to the second TC first, right? And so we'll look to continue to extend the eco advantage now that he's got some map control over his opponent's base and some of those important resources. He's already denied the main gold and the main stone here from Alexios. So he's taking a page out of his book. You've been strangling me out of games earlier, but the mango micro here for Alexios just is so much better. Okay. That's a good recovery. Good recovery.
Yeah, look at the Navy. It's kind of funny. Both players looping around the other players' islands right now. And the Navy for Jan Žižka is able to range that TC if he wants to camp there. Okay, so this is... I'm trying to think right now what to recommend to Alexios. And I think you need to add eco, take reasonable trades with the siege, and then eventually build a castle, which will take out the towers and allow you to take your resources again. But I would feel helpless here. It is very difficult. This game is 3 times easier for Jan Žižka because of the position he's brought in for himself here.
Yeah, but I think it's very clear Alexios agrees with you, right? I see 11 villagers on stone up there, and he's dropping all of those farms, right? So doing his best to not get panicked with all the pressure that's coming in. Keep the eco balance up as best as possible, get more villagers onto food, and then eventually get to that stone count where you can drop a castle. But the expansion of these guard towers right now for Jan Žižka is so massive. I don't even know where you place a castle at this point to get rid of them.
Yeah, I'm laughing
right in front of the TC?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I'm laughing because as the micro from Alexios continues to be insane, and still is insane. This guy's nuts. MBL confirmed, maybe? But, like, Jan Žižka has been very adventurous with these vills. His Mangonel micro hasn't been as good as Alexios, but his villagers have gone everywhere. And I'm going to circle it back to what most people do with this push. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. What most people do with the push, Dash, is they stay underneath their towers. And the towers are your friends in a Mangonel war. But now, oh, God.
Do we have to delete that castle?
You do.
I mean, 4 Mangonels can just target that castle.
You gotta delete it. He deleted it. Okay. Whew.
In the end, again, I'm not even sure I like the castle play here from Jan, right? I almost want you to continue with the guard towers, slowly creeping.
So on the player guesses, I was talking to Margugu, who's a French pro. Many people know him. He casted with me earlier in Hidden Cup. And we were typing. It was like midnight for me, and I'm just scheming away talking to people. And I said, I think Jan Žižka is Sato because he had the perfect plan into a fail forward castle and then a throw on Bay. And Margugu goes, yes. He goes, perfect play into thinking you can win the game with a castle and losing. Very French. So, as I see this, as I see this insistence from Jan Žižka to just keep pushing, and not just chill like so many other big pros do, it does make me wonder, as he continues to get pushed away, like Alexios has had ridiculous trades with the siege, and he has no siege bonuses. I do wonder if maybe Jan Žižka needs to settle it down a little bit, and again, just keep these towers up and go imp and try and win with galleons there, maybe.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, T90. And if the mangonel micro, or losses rather, weren't evidence enough of the point you're making, I'd say the next thing you need to look at is the Vil counts, right?
Yeah.
Through all of this, through being
Crazy.
the one who's taking the pressure, it's Alexios who got onto the second TC after his opponent, and yet has outboomed him now with a 12 villager lead.
And it's just not easy. There's only so many players in the world that can do this. I know that, like, it's easy to look at Jan Žižka right now and say, well, his micro's not as good. Well, yeah, it's not as good because he's up against Alexios. Like, let's not pretend that Jan Žižka isn't a maniac with micro. Like, what are we witnessing here?
Oh my
There's
God.
no extra damage bonus. There's no bonus for Viking Siege. It's crap. But Alexios continues to just bat this away against guard towers while it's all on his island, and he's got the resources to go Imperial Age Dash.
I'm terrified, man. You know what I'm terrified for at the end is to see the statistics of military units made, because at this point it feels like Jan Žižka's most produced unit is the Mangonel, but it's also his most lost unit.
There we go again! No way! No way! I mean, and Jan Žižka's microing. It's just that Alexios keeps picking him off and getting the attack rounds. He knows where Jan Žižka's gonna go. I mean, that's like 6 or 7 in a row. Okay, here. I mean, at this point, I don't.
Seventh time's the charm. Seventh time is the charm.
Nice attack round from Jan Žižka. Good attack round there. Now, this is where you're actually seeing the guard tower play a role. All these other towers were to deny resources. They haven't played a role in the fight. Where is Alexios going to build his castle here, Dash? Because it feels like he could have placed it here already with how good his micro has been. Oh, boy.
Yeah,
I think more Vils just got transported across here from Jan Žižka. I think it's about to go down. We've got the siege micro continuing. Jan Žižka.
He's going for the castle. He's going for the same castle placement he went for before.
And the attack round from Alexios is there to try and snipe the foundation if he sees it. More micro from Alexios. Another good attack round. Jan Žižka gets the kill, though. Castle for Alexios. Jan Žižka's building a castle there. Position. And I love it until I see my opponents in Imp in Jan Žižka's position. I'm also concerned this castle might not go up. Oh, God.
Well, I love this castle position because it's safe, and right now I'm a minute away from the Imperial Age as Alexios.
Yeah. I see what you mean. Okay, got another one. No way, dude. No way. Okay, very fortunate for Jan Žižka. Very fortunate for Jan Žižka. Villagers, get to the castle, people. Start to hammer away. Double time now. This could be bad. Good attack rounds. Villagers die.
But we'll lose
5 villagers
2.
building the castle. Oh! Okay, 3 villagers.
We got the snipe from the tower, but another villager goes down as well. In the end, the Korean castle will go up, but while that's said, it's Imperial Age reached by your opponent, and all of a sudden you might be regretting your forward castle position. GG, well played. Good luck. Next is the call here from Jan Žižka, and Alexios will take it in 4-1 fashion. 2 4-1 victories to push himself to the semifinals.
I'm sorry, but Alexios is just a beast. Jan Žižka had an amazing performance. He won in the first round. People voted he was Viper for a reason. I don't know who he is. He's a great player. He had great strategy, but the ability from Alexios, in my opinion, so much greater than even the first series suggested. He has only gotten stronger during Hidden Cup 5, and he can absolutely beat Khosrow in the semifinals tomorrow. That micro was incredible. He had to adapt to a lot. He couldn't take some of his stone, some of his gold. He's against Koreans and towers. Here, like, he's against Chinese to start it all off, and he played amazing, Dash, as we kind of go through the series now.
Yeah, this was bringing us all the way back to game 1. It was a last pick Khmer against first pick Chinese on Arabia, and Alexios just plays a brilliant game. Phenomenal defense with the villagers, utilizing the Khmer houses, and then winning out in the Archer v Skirmisher battle. Just the micro on pure display here, and it only got better from that point forward, it felt like, in this series.
Well, I don't know if viewers would agree or if you would agree. I think Alexios has had the best micro out of all players in Hidden Cup so far. And that's a bold statement because we've had some electric players, but his unit control was just out of this world in this series, Dash.
Yeah, I mean, I'm my gut wants to agree with you, and if anything, because it's his micro with each unit type, right? It's not just the Archer micro. It was the mangonels that we just saw in that last game. It was the micro around just armies, right? As we see on display here, splitting up the scouts, splitting up the knights, bringing the crossbows in, and then suffocating on the other side with another 6 crossbows. In some elements, the army splits are very akin to the way that we know Tato plays, right? Very willing to use small groups of armies to really make your. Oh, and then this, I mean, taking a page out of the Hera playbook, killing 5 sheep. What a lane!
And on the player names, who says it's not Hera? Who says it's not Tato? Everyone seems to think that Tato's Gajimata, but there's some strong opinions that Tato is not Gajimata. Like the quick wall there from Alexios, keeping the villagers alive. Like it wasn't just the micro. Now this was an example of Jan Žižka's great defense and macro. I don't want to hype up Alexios this entire time. This was a great fight back. Knew the Siege Workshop would be coming. Had the fishbone with the Japanese. And was able to push right through the middle here, Dash.
Mm-hmm. No, this was, and this goes back to your point about strategically, it feels like Jan was right there with Alexios, right? A lot of the overall approach to the maps, spot on. And we could see it kind of bear out in this specific result, but even in the final map, like I like the approach to the game, but maybe just a little bit over investing into the aggression and not paying enough attention to our ability to get to that Imperial Age and ultimately close the game out. I mean,
this was so crazy.
It's a tough one with how Alexios was playing.
Yeah, this was so cool. Like again, Jan Žižka with the fancy little trick to try and hide his ships through there, and then the demo gets pulled back, and then Alexios says, "Oh wait, buddy, you want to hide in there? Great, you can't move from there," and just destroyed him. That was so well played, and ultimately went crossbow with Mongols, so he could use the castles to produce trebs. That is like, I think on paper, like if this was a Reddit post and someone said, well, what about going Mongols and using the, going fast imp, using the castles for trebs, and then we just go crossbow. Sorry, Reddit, but there's a whole lot of downvotes coming that person's way. No one's going to think it's smart. Everyone's going to suggest just build defensive castles and go Mangadai. And, I mean, then maybe he wouldn't have won this game the way he did, Dash.
Yeah, and then here we have it again, going back to the archers. That's the pattern I think that most people are going to look to, right, when they're trying to identify both who Alexios is, but also for Alexios' future opponents, because to your point earlier, while all of these games through the quarterfinals were played behind closed doors, the remaining series will not be. And that's where things are going to get very, very interesting in terms of the strategic development of the tournament and how these players match up against each other. Is now there's a very sincere recognition that Alexios as a player, whomever he is a big fan of archers and crossbows, and his next opponent should be prepared for that.
This game here, another example, like strategically, Jan Žižka had the better strategy. Straight up. This is the better strategy. Mm-hmm. You go for the landing. You go for the faster castle age. You use the landing to distract. You have Korean towers. You have the Korean siege. Like, on paper, this is a win for Jan Žižka already if you were to put 2 evenly skilled players together. But Jan Žižka was never able to take the engagements he wanted. And the value for the engagements from Alexios was out of this world. I will say, Dash, because we didn't really have a ton of time to talk about it. I think that you have to use the towers to help you in the siege war. That is more important. It is more important to place like 2 towers underneath where you're going to siege push than it is to cover and deny resources with the other towers, if you get what I mean.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. And I think you even asked the question about midway through this push, right? When maybe 3 towers had been established, you had asked, how far do we go? Right? How much pressure do we need to put on, or is this enough? And can we kind of rest on that and look again to extend to the Imperial Age? And I think he over indexed into that pressure, wanting to close it out, wanting to get himself to that next map in the series, and ended up biting him in the end.
Man, I mean, that was a fun series. I mean, obviously we always want more games. As a caster, we want the 4-2, we want the 4-3. But there's a level of excitement with when you have a player like Jan Žižka that's so good, and then you have Alexios just rising above it all. That really got me pumped for tomorrow.
Oh, I'm so stoked, man. I'm so stoked. And again, in so many ways, because I am still on the this is Leary
Yeah,
train.
yeah, yeah,
And this is Leary playing the style of Age of Empires that he wants to play and that he is best at. And
yeah.
that I think that makes for a brilliant Age of Empires tournament when we've got a lot of players playing in their peak form.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's time. I think we got to see what the people think, because I could see 3 or 4 names going in there for either player. Jan Žižka obviously losing here, did win the first round 4-2 against Alfred the Alpaca. Now, I believe that the people voted that Jan Žižka beat Leary in the first round, which is kind of interesting. Now, I think I'm to blame for that. I was very pro Leary for Alfred the Alpaca, and after taking a moment to think about it, I'm leaning a little bit more towards like maybe a Sebastian, maybe a qualifier player, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Who do you think this player was, this Jan Žižka? Do you think along the lines of Margugu that it was a very French player, that it was Citeaux, or was it maybe somebody else who got through the first round and then lost here in the second? Vote away here, people. See what the community thinks.
Yeah, clearly some favoritism towards Citeaux in the vote, but as you mentioned, perhaps Alfred the Alpaca being Sebastian, that looks to be the secondary guess for a lot of people here.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Citeaux and Sebastian, Winchester, Mihai, Hart, like it could be any of these players. I don't really know. I think what it is players who lost in the first round. No one wants to change their mind on those, right? Because we haven't seen any more data from them to help us change our mind. But in this case, you see a player lose in the second round, then you have more intel, and 53% of people think it is Citeaux, 12% of people think it is Sebastian, and then 7% of people think it was Viper. Okay, production, can we please go to the viewer guess bracket for a moment before we do the next vote? I've got a bone to pick with people. And I know different people voted every time. I know it's all part of the fun. But guys, what are you doing? Okay? You voted that Jan Žižka was Viper when he won 4-2. And now, poor old little Jan Žižka happens to lose against Alexios, who's playing like a god, and suddenly it can't be Viper. Huh? What are we doing here, guys? Huh?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but it's just so funny to me.
No, but it's a good point to raise, because again, while sure it is probable that the top 4 players, if they were lucky enough to get placed, very specifically across the bracket, would be the top 4 players in the semifinals. Right now, that's kind of the way I'm seeing the voting go, and just the reality of a randomly seeded bracket. It won't bear out that way, and that's how we know we're wrong in a number of places.
And by the way, apparently we still have no Sebastian or no Yo in Hidden Cup 5, because we have not had a viewer vote go the way of Sebastian or Yo all Hidden Cup. But right now, people are really honing in on Leary. And listen, I can't disagree with them. I know other players can be archer oriented, but this felt like Leary in true form, and a Leary we haven't seen in a long time here, Dash.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a hopeful piece of me, right, that when we get the reveal, it will be Leary, because that just speaks to a resurgence in his play and his Age of Empires career. But it's starting to feel like, or at least again from the community's perspective, that there is some certainty around some of our remaining players. Jumping all the way back up to Vasco, pretty confidently people are guessing Hera there, right? Khazra, okay, the Viper, and now maybe Leary here. I think Gajamata is the one that people have the least certainty about in our 4 remaining.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Leary, pretty definitive here. 58% of people think it's him. Viper, who is also second place on the votes for Jan Žižka, is also second place on the votes for Alexios Komnenos. So we have really seen Viper voted a lot here in Hidden Cup 5, but it makes sense because people are looking for certain things. They're looking for the colors. We did see a lot of yellow, certain traits that all these players have. Of course, Viper has kind of been there, done that, and been everywhere in our scene. But wow. I mean, Dash, we've got our matchups. If we go to the hero bracket now, with 2 days remaining a Hidden Cup, I want to hear predictions, my friends. Not necessarily on like who the players are, but Vasco da Gama versus Gajimata should be insane. And now Khazrao against Alexios Komnenos. Thoughts on the sets?
I mean, take a look at the dominance of the 4 players in their set victories who have made it to the semifinals, right? Vasco da
Yep.
Gama
Yep.
has dropped 1 game and won
Yep.
8. Gajimata has won 8 games, lost 2. You got Khazrao dropping a total of just 3 games. So that's, in fact, the most games dropped by a semifinal appearance. And then Alexios going back-to-back 4-1s. And so, I mean, for me, it just sets up what will be some brilliant semifinal matchups because all 4 of these players seem to be well practiced on a lot of maps, seem to have strategically, at least for themselves, figured out what they want to do, and they've executed on them in most cases pretty brilliantly. Again, I think the curiosity for me becomes how that all changes now that they've seen each other play. Right.
Yes.
And you're going to
Yes.
get the opportunity to pick apart that. And that's where I think I'm really hoping we go the distance in both of these series.
Yes, that's spot on. So, guys, at this point, come tomorrow, the semis are live. Everything we have seen, the players have had a chance to see. They know about the opponent's drafts. They know the opponent's styles. Up until now, it was all hidden. They could repeat these tricks, but the players never saw them before. Now, all the little Vasco walls on evacuation, all the stylistic picks like Koreans possibly for some people on Cup. Some of the special strategies that maybe these players have had. There's less mystery now. I'm sure there will still be plenty of high-level gameplay and plenty of ingenuity, but it definitely, from the strategy side, changes come tomorrow for the semifinals. And, I think like after the semifinals tomorrow, we're obviously all going to be excited for the third place match Sunday and then the final. But I think like when we finish semifinal number 2 tomorrow, even I am going to be like, oh, please, can we do the reveal? Please, I need to know who won. I need to know who's out. It's killing me. So don't worry, guys. We're close to the reveal. It'll be after the final on Sunday, but tomorrow should be insane Age of Empires.
Yeah, two more days, 4 more sets. I'll just remind everybody in the chat to mark your calendars for each of these series. Tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your pets, sign them up on Twitch. Get them in here. Let's break some viewership records because T90 and the team have put in such incredible work to make this event possible for us. The incredible sponsors behind it who have helped made it all possible. I just think it cannot be ignored, the amount of effort that it takes to put on an event like this and with this kind of a unique element to it, right? That I think a lot of people don't consider how difficult it is, 1, to run a tournament, 2, to run a tournament in complete anonymity. Like that is just such an undertaking. And there is a slew of people, both on your screen here in T90, but behind him that have put blood, sweat, and tears into making this happen and delivering for us one of the most, I think, viewer-oriented tournaments in the age scene because of how it makes us all think and communicate and collaborate in our guesses. And so let's try and break some viewership numbers over the next couple days. I will be in the chat with you all, throwing out my wild guesses as well as we enjoy it all when this event comes to a conclusion.
Well, Dash, kind words, my friend. Thank you again for joining. I'll look for your salutes in chat over the weekend. And thanks for joining, my friend.
Always a pleasure. Cheers, everyone. Peace out.